howdy, 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 howdy. You know, I was all organized, everything was great, and then just out of nowhere, Facebook decides to throw a monkey wrench into the broadcast or the Bourbcast, and now I'm late again. By like 3 minutes. It was unintentional, I promise. I'm sitting here going, and it just, I can't win. Just even when I'm on time, I can't be on time. I need a drink. How about you? All right, so as of the time that we started the Bourbcast, nobody had made a suggestion as for what we were going to do next week. So I made up my own choice. You're going to be stuck with whatever I choose. All right, so that's coming up at the end of the Bourbcast. We'll be talking, revealing what next week's drink is going to be. All right, but what we're here to do today is Uncle Nearest. Now, here's what I did. This is how prepared I was, and then Facebook had to right up in the old shoot. Oh, too late now, Aaron, buddy. Too late, buddy. Nope, I can't do. I already picked one. It's not going to be Old Forester. Sorry. Ha. Should have done it earlier. Should have been to the page. Not doing it. So, okay. We will do Old Forester. I got one over there that I haven't tried yet, so we'll be doing that. But, so this is how prepared I was. I went ahead and took the foil, the plastic goop, off of the bottle before we started. Because, you know, I always fumbled trying to find the perf. I still never found the perf on this one. I found it on the other one, but I didn't find it on this one. So, I used my kniffy. And I cut that son of a gun. I cut it like he was. I'm going to stop right there. Uncle Nearest is the focus of today. I've heard mixed reviews. I've read mixed reviews. Well, I'm going to put the cork on just in case something else goes awry and this goes tumbling, and I don't want it to go tumbling. So, Uncle Nearest. This is an interesting story, and I like the story that we're going to tell because it's a part of everything that you thought you knew and don't. First of all, he's sometimes known as the best whiskey maker the world never knew. That's fair, because the world hasn't been very fair to Uncle Nearest. We'll get into that. Well, the man that we're talking about is a man by the name of Nathan Green. He was a slave, and the story goes that a Lutheran preacher up the road from Lynchburg was operating a still behind his farmhouse. And Nathan Green was that reverend's slave, as I gather it. The congregation wasn't too keen on a man of God running a still behind his property, so he decided to give it up to one of his associates. The associate liked what Mr. Green did as the master distiller and kept him on as master distiller. And then, I want to make sure I get all this right. So, Reverend Dan Call, after the Civil War, freed Nathan Green. But Nathan continued to work for the Reverend and this associate and got paid as a free man after the abolition of slavery. So he stayed on. All right. Mr. Green then went on to take his earnings, and he bought a house in nearby Lynchburg. And such is the story so far of Uncle Nearest, or Nathan Green. Some people thought his name was Nearest, and I guess it was a nickname or something like that. Some folks say that Nathan Green may have been the genius that perfected the Lincoln County process of filtering the juice through sugar, maple, charcoal before barreling. Some have also said that it was Mr. Green, not Reverend Call, that taught a young Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. Evidently, for some time, Jack Daniels and Nathan Green worked side by side. Today, that still is long gone, but the legend remains, and finally, Nathan Green, Uncle Nearest, has gotten the credit, the fame, and everything that he earned. As a matter of fact, some refer to him now as the godfather of Tennessee whiskey. That's quite the accomplishment for somebody who for so long was not given any of the credit that he was due. As a matter of fact, Jack Daniels kept some of the secrets of his early years to himself for a long time until just relatively recently when when the company started to credit Nathan Green for what he did for the bourbon and whiskey industry. Okay, so the distillery that bears his name, let's go to that, shall we? This is actually a really neat looking place. This is the Nearest Green Distillery. It opened in September 2019 and is located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And get this, on Father's Day, they unveiled what they are calling Phase 2 of 4 phases of a $50 million growth plan. The distillation is currently taking place at Corsair Distillery, and aged whiskey is being sourced from 5 different distillers, and barrels are being shipped up to Kentucky for the final filtration after being dumped. The whiskeys are blended and barreled at the point. Now that the distillery is built, the plan is to bring as much of the process in-house as possible. What's interesting about this particular Tennessee whiskey is that they don't identify it as a Tennessee whiskey, and it has all the earmarks to be called a Tennessee whiskey by the Tennessee whiskey, right? Because it does go through the Lincoln process. As a matter of fact, the Lincoln County process, from what I understand, is done 3 times on these bottles. Not just once, not just twice, like Jack Daniel's Gentleman Jack. Jack Daniel's Old Number 9, once. Gentleman Jack, twice. From what I understand, this is done 3 times through the Lincoln County process, that sugar maple charcoal filtration process. 3. Okay. At least this one is. I don't know about the premium, but I know that this one is. So it's a blend of whiskeys. The 1884, which you're going to try first, is a blend of whiskeys that are no younger than 7 years. So again, those 5 barrels are coming in, but those 5 barrels are all at least 7 years old. So some of them are going to be older. That's good. The descendants of Uncle Nearest are personally involved in the blending process. Each small batch is being created by a different member of the Green legacy and signed by that relative. Now this one here is signed by Mr. Green's great-great-granddaughter, Victoria Edie Butler. Right here on the back. All right. So you've got the information now on the 1884, and to some extent the 1856, which is here. We'll get to that one in a little bit. All right. Sean is watching. Hey, Sean. Bev is watching. Yay! I'm glad you're here. We're talking about Uncle Nearest. We just went through the history. Not going to go through it all again, but I will say that Uncle Nearest is pretty much the pioneer of the Lincoln County process. He's the guy who perfected it, if nothing else, and it continues to this day in the way that he perfected it. So this is Uncle Nearest, 1884. I have gotten mixed reviews on the 1884. So I'm looking forward to trying it and giving it my special touch. We are going to taste 2 different Uncle Nearest whiskeys tonight. Again, not technically a Tennessee whiskey because they chose not to go with that name, although they could. Process is there. All the ingredients are there. It's at least 51% corn. That's part of what makes it a bourbon. Bourbon also goes as a part of Tennessee whiskey. So it is what it is. All right. Okay, there's a little ethanol on that. It is definitely a sweeter nose, but not as sweet as some of the people were making me believe it might be online. Now, I will compare it to this one, and this one may seem sticky, candy sweet compared to the other one, but right now, I'm not getting that. It is sweet, though. There's a fruit forwardness to it, almost wine-like, but that ethanol is still strong on it. I'm getting cinnamon, which is interesting for a Tennessee whiskey that isn't a Tennessee whiskey. I want to call it that, but they don't want to call it that. They do say on the front of the bottle that it's made in Tennessee. It is a whiskey made in Tennessee, but they don't overtly call it a Tennessee whiskey. I wasn't able to find out why. I looked. I was not able to find out why they don't go with that moniker. There's some honey in that. I'm definitely getting fruit. Let me see what other people have said. So, Whiskey Wash says the nose has got honey. I got that. They say toast, Rice Krispies, and butter. I haven't had Rice Krispies like forever because like when you're a kid and you eat Rice Krispies and then you throw up, you never want Rice Krispies ever again. And I will promise you, I have not had Rice Krispies since I was a kid and threw them up. Kind of like my little story with bourbon. It was like 25 years from the time that I puked bourbon to the time that I drank it again. And it wasn't even good. It was that old number 9. So, I can see a little bit of butter in that. That's indicative of a Tennessee whiskey. I'm not getting the cereals. A lot of times cereal will come out at me on the nose, but it definitely comes out on the palate with a Tennessee whiskey or a whiskey done in Tennessee. So let's quit wasting time and give this a taste, shall we? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's where the cereals and the sweetness really hit me. Wow, that is sweet. Okay, the cereals are indicative, again, of a whiskey from Tennessee. I caught myself that time. But it is incredibly sweet. I'm getting some cotton candy. Very, very sugary caramel. Cinnamon's gone. There's some maybe vanilla. Wow. Wow. Mix this with an aperitif and you're going to end up with diabetes. and this being said, it's kind of funny because there's no sugar added to bourbon or Tennessee whiskey. It is what it is. But I noticed with the Gentleman Jack after drinking the old number 7, not 9, 7, that Gentleman Jack was sweeter. It had gone through the Lincoln County process twice. This has been through it 3 times. So that could lend itself, that sugar maple, this could lend itself to why it is so sweet. If you're just getting started on bourbons and you like sweet wines, you might really like this. Let's go back to the notes that I got. This is from Whiskey Wash. They say the palate is dry. No, that is not dry. I've had dry bourbons and dry whiskeys. That is not dry. Not at all. Smooth, yes. Sweet and mild, yes. They call for smoked wood. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you this much. I'm not getting a lot of the tasting notes that Whiskey Wash got. I will tell you that even though this is a sweeter whiskey, I like it. There were some people that thought it was going to be like a drain pour. They hated it. I don't dislike this at all. For a Tennessee whiskey, I actually rather like this one. It's a lot sweeter, which helps move me away from. There's definitely a butter component to the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel is a little light, again smooth and very mild, but I don't mind this at all. Now, will it be great in a old fashioned? No, probably not. It's not spicy enough. Could it be good in a sweeter bourbon drink? Yeah, why not? Try it. But yeah, neat. I don't mind this really at all. I'm surprised. I thought it would be gross. I've got another set of notes here. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Drink hacker. I was just looking for things. They say sweet, yes. Sugar, yes. Cotton candy, and nailed that one. Citrus, vanilla, and breakfast cereal. I agree with all those. I've got cereal or citrus more on the nose than on the mouth, than on the palate. On the palate, they say sweet iced tea. I don't drink sweet tea, so I really don't know. Brown butter, canned peaches, sugar, sugar, sugar. Canned peaches, huh? I see it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see it. So, I know Kevin is supposed to be joining us tonight. He said he'd be drinking something different. He tried these at a friend's house and wasn't really in love with them, so he didn't buy any for himself. But that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Let's do this over a little bit of water. I probably had more of that neat than I should have, but I was surprised by it. I'm surprised. I actually like it. All right. Add just a little water to this. There we go. It's not going to need much. It's only 96 proof. Is that right? 93 proof. So it's not a heavy-duty drink anyway to begin with. Just give it a spin. You spin me right round, baby, right round like bourbon, oh, right round, round, round. All right. Okay. That's interesting. So, on water, Uncle Nearest 1884 is spicier and has a little bit more of a ethanol bite. That's bizarre. I've never had water enhance the spices or the bite, but in this case, I think it did. Let's try it again. I don't want to be wrong. I don't like being wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I still don't like it. Let's move on here. No, I'm going to stick with that. Maybe not so much the ethanol, but the sweetness is knocked down a bit and the spiciness comes back out on water. That's interesting. So if you wanted to try 1884, hey Joe, how are you? Welcome, sir. Nice to have you along. Awesome. I didn't know you were into bourbon. Sweet. Okay. Joe, Bev, Joe. I know you're both from the area. This was an interesting pour. The 1884, very, very sweet, neat. Very sweet. A lot of the typical Tennessee whiskey traits, like a butteriness to it, the cereal to it. This one is different. This one is definitely sweeter, neat, and not bad in that vein. It's actually, if I had to say Tennessee whiskeys, which I don't care for, this one so far has been one I've liked a little bit better. Surprise me. But on water, that spiciness comes back out. The stuff that is lost neat because it's so sweet is brought back on water and it's more spicy, which is really cool. All right. So that, oh wait, I forgot. Gotta do it on ice. All right. Bring out one of my beautiful, clear ice spheres. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? I love it. These are those very special vintage old-fashioned glasses I got. They're just big enough for one of my very special ice spheres. Not ice spheres. Ice spheres. Okay. Judging how this changed on water, I'm really actually excited to try this with ice. And I'm not going to go crazy because I got another one to try yet. That's plenty. Drink responsibly, especially if you're trying more than one. Last week, I did the chicken cock. That kicked my butt. I watched that back, and I was like, by the end of it. It's funny. I don't want to get like that today, but we'll see how things go. All right. Little swirl. Little swirly swirl. I spilled it on myself. I'll have to suck that out of my pants later. All right. That's all I'm going to say about that. I could go off on a whim, and I'm not going to do that because this is not a family program. I could go off. I could keep going. I'm classy. I make myself laugh. I have to. I'm here by myself. All right. This should be cooled down enough. I'm really interested in this. Kind of a mix between the two. It's sweet and smooth and tasty and a little bit spicy. There's no ethanol on it whatsoever. There's a fruit overtone. There's a little bit of butter there. The honey sticks with you. I have some news, by the way, and I'm kind of excited about this. I'm starting to take the first steps toward becoming a bourbon steward. There's all sorts of programs that are out there, but I want to be an official bourbon steward. And then as we get on into the summer here, we're going to be bringing back the mixed drinks, and I'm going to be practicing my mixology here on the show, because my ultimate goal is to have a retirement job as a bartender, and I want to be a damn good one. I'm not ready for retirement yet. I got some time, but I think that's what I would like to do. Even colder yet, that brought back some of the cereal notes. Either way, so for the first time, I got a sense of a finish that I didn't care for. On ice, I don't like the finish of 1884. There's just something nutty about it that doesn't match anything else. Not a fan of the finish on ice, but the palate is good on ice. It's like I said, it's a mixture. It's got that spice, a little bit of that. The colder it gets, the more that toasted cereal. The honey sticks with it, vanilla sticks with it. Cinnamon was gone a while ago. That was their neat, but that's when I got that cotton candy, and that's been gone too. The spices came back. On ice, it's in between. The finish, not as grand. Let's finish it up. All right. We're moving on. As a finish up, 1884 was a surprise. I liked it better than I thought I would. Maybe that's why they don't call it a Tennessee whiskey, because I haven't liked Tennessee whiskey. This is whiskey made in Tennessee with the exact same processes. But there's something about this that I like. And if you like sweet wine, this would be a good choice for you. All right, we're moving on. Stick around. I've got what we're doing next week, and it is a single bottle. We're not doubling up next week. All right, so this is the premium. This is 100 proof. That was 93. So if anything's going to send me over the edge, it's going to be this one. All right. Oh, shoot. Which one did I use? This one. I used this one. I love these glasses. These are just as vintage and hard to find as the clear ones. They're just a little bit smaller, and they're perfect for just a taste. It's got that rim there, so I can stop pouring when it gets to the rim. This being 100 proof, I'm not going to finish this whole thing without adding water to it. Shoot, I didn't bring down a cleanser. I didn't bring down a palate cleanser. Is that good enough? Probably not. Filtered. All right. Okay, so this is the 1856. This is the premium whiskey. This has better reviews online. Last week when I was talking about drinking the 1884 and the 1856, Kevin told me to drink this one last, even though it has the earlier date and maybe the earlier formula. By the way, the formula for Uncle Nearest is kept under lock and key in a bank. Nobody knows if it's the original formula, but they went back in time as far as they could find to try to come as close as they could to the original formula of Uncle Nearest. It's a fantasy to think that this might be the actual thing, but let's pretend that they did their history, they did the homework, and they found some semblance of what the original Uncle Nearest tasted like. So, here we go. This has got a sweet nose too, and it's very ethanol forward. Spicier. I have nutmeg. Cloves, maybe. This is more typical to a Tennessee whiskey, to me, so far. That toasted cereal is there. Vanilla and cinnamon are there, but they're not forward like everything else. That toasted cereal really comes out. Let's see what other people say. Whiskey Wash said that rich molasses sweetness. Told you the sweetness was there. Then grass, charcoal, nutmeg. I got that. Touch of maple. Oh, I could agree with that. Yep. Mash bill is 90% corn and rye, with the remainder being malted barley. Recipe is authentic 19th century recipe that has not been used since 1912, and it uses corn malt. Okay. Breaking Bourbon says that the nose is grain, which I got. Citrus, burnt oak, and strong aroma. Strong aroma, I agree with. Burnt oak, not so much. Citrus, yes. Hey, Aaron, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Uncle Nearest, we already did the 1884. Now we're doing the 1856. 1884 I actually liked. I'm not a sweet wine guy. I'm not a sweet drink guy. But the 1884, for a Tennessee whiskey that isn't called Tennessee whiskey, I really rather liked it. This is the 1856, the premium whiskey. It's 100 proof. And so far, I'm getting a lot of the very typical notes of a Tennessee whiskey. very typical to a Tennessee whiskey. It's buttery, that toasted cereal taste is there. Maybe a licorice on the back end of it. Yeah, this is much more typical of a Tennessee whiskey. Its flavors are very similar to many of the Tennessee whiskeys that I've tried. That cereal is so present. There's a little nutmeg there. It isn't like a Kentucky bourbon. Kentucky bourbons have a flavor profile all their own. So do Tennessee whiskeys, even though they're virtually the same thing as far as mash bill. A bourbon goes to Tennessee, goes through that Lincoln County process, and becomes a Tennessee whiskey. Somehow it changes in that process. I like this better than other Tennessee whiskeys. I like this better than Jack Daniels, and I like it better than the Gentleman Jack as well. It has more of a bourbon-esque quality to it than the Jacks, and then other, like Dickel. George Dickel's a Tennessee whiskey. So far, I have not found one I liked. This one I like. I don't love it. I like it. Let's get on into it. You know what? Let's do water. See what happens on water, because the 1886 changed a lot. 1884 changed a lot. All right. Just do a squirt. Squirt. I was thinking of the Jolly Green Giant, and I thought maybe he named his Little Giant Squirt, but I was wrong. It's Sprout. His name is Sprout. That's what being an adult with ADD does for you. All right. So I think we've got that pretty well mixed. Just a little bit of 1856 with some water. At first I was going to tell you it doesn't change much, but it does. Just like the other one, the 1884, the 1856 on water brings up a little more of the spice, a little bit more of that bourbon profile. It kind of moves away some of that Tennessee whiskey profile of the cereals and that butteriness. Although they're there, it's just a little more spicy, like a rye. Now this is 90% corn and rye. I don't know the actual breakdown, but that's what I've got. For a Tennessee whiskey, it's good. It's got a lot of those same notes, but it's different. And it's different, I think, in a good way. It may not be for you. I've got people that watch this show that it's not for them, and that's fine. But for me, if I was going to choose a Tennessee whiskey or a whiskey made in Tennessee, this might be one I'd go for sooner than some of the other ones. Excuse me. All right. One more brand new ice sphere in a brand new, clean, unused glass. for I do not wish to taint the results. That's a terrible word. Taint. Ugh. That's plenty. Plenty. All right. So we're going to try the 1856 with ice. This one I'm going to let sit just a little bit longer than I did the 1884. Is it 1884? 1884, I got it right. Because the 1884 changed a lot in just a couple of minutes. So I want this to get nice and cold on that ice sphere. Just ahead, we're going to tell you what next week's drink will be. So stick around. Don't leave me now. It's coming. You're not going to believe it. I mock myself for doing what's coming up next week. I do. Because it's hard to take it seriously. But I'm going to do it. All right. I'm cracking myself up. I just know what's coming. And you don't. And I do. And I love that. All right. Beautiful. Clear ice sphere. Sexy. Sexy. All right. The glass is getting cold, so it's time. Here we go. I'm going to say the same thing about this that I said about the 1884. Yes. It's somewhere in between, and the finish is not great. Uncle Nearest would be good in a drink. It's good neat and on water. On ice, I don't like it by itself. If you were going to use it as a base of something, maybe a Manhattan, not an old-fashioned, but maybe a Manhattan, or a sour, yes. These would work great in a sour. On ice, without all that stuff, it doesn't do it for me. Just doesn't do it for me. I mean, it's okay, but if it's going to be on ice, I want it to be refreshing, and these are not refreshing drinks. And the character, although the character doesn't change a ton, the finish is not likable when it's cold on ice. I can't get behind that on ice. No, not really. So that is the review of the 1884 and the 1856. They're both good. I like them better than normal Tennessee whiskeys. This one is sweeter. This one is more typical. But still, even though it's more typical, I like it better than most Tennessee whiskeys because they have something about them. Oh shit! they kick my butt. I have been drinking less, so doing 2 bottles has kicked my butt. You might be able to hear it. I hear it. Maybe you don't hear it. I hear it. So these are the 2 we did. I like them both. This is sweeter for sure. Be great for a sour. If you like a spicier note in your sour, this would be good. They're both good. They're both good. As far as Tennessee whiskeys, they're both good. I like them better than anything else I've tried out of Tennessee so far. They've both surprised me. The reviews online were not always great. They were very mixed. I guess it depends on where they intend to get the review from, and where it's coming from and who's paying them or whatever. But I'm not getting paid. This is not, I bought both of these bottles. Nobody supplied these to me. So the review that I'm giving you is honest. And of the two, I think I like the 1884 better. It stands out. Whereas the 1856 is more typical to a Tennessee whiskey, although it's not a typical Tennessee whiskey. They've got a huge expansion on the horizon, and I'm curious as to what they're going to come up with. And these are both 7-year, at least 7-year blends. Nothing younger than 7 years. So what's going to happen when they take it all in-house and they bring us a single barrel or a 10-year or a 12-year or a 15-year? I'm interested. I'm interested in where this company is going to go. All right, next week I got to quit because I'm kicked my butt. Next week, are you ready? Here it is. This is a huge craze. It came out of nowhere. It's gone gangbusters. And people are talking about it left and right. And I happen to have a couple of bottles of it. So I'm going to try it next week, 7:30 at Beautiful Bourbon. And here it is. So goofy. Mellocorn. I've heard nothing but good about Mellocorn. Let me give you some background. I don't know much. This is 100 proof. This is corn whiskey. I don't know what else goes into it. I don't know if there's rye. I don't know if there's barley. I don't know if there's wheat. I don't know anything about this, other than it has lit the bourbon world on fire on the internet. So this is what we're trying next week. Not easy to find in my neck of the woods. Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, probably a little easier to find it. This is next week, next Thursday, 7:30 on Beautiful Bourbon. I will take a beautiful photo because that's what Beautiful Bourbon started out. That's what, oh my God, I sound drunk to myself. So let me hit the reset button. Beautiful Bourbon started out as me taking photos of the bourbons I was drinking with my cell phone. Over time, I started doing better photos, and now I try to take the best photos I can. Uncle Nearest, the inspiration was opening the door. Let me go to that photo real quick so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. So, because slavery was a part of our history, well, honestly, it was a part of world history, but it's a part of our history that we wish we could erase and can't, but it's there. I chose that photo as significant because here we are, a nation that had slaves, yet we were willing to open the door to the possibilities of more. And that's why I chose that photo. So next week, I hope to come up with with a really nice photo for Mellocorn. I don't know that I can. By now, the corn is in V8. That's a stage, not a drink. You've heard of V8, but V8 is a stage of corn development. That's next week right here on Beautiful Bourbon. We are on Facebook, Instagram at Beautiful Bourbon, and on our blog, which I really need to update, at beautifulbourbon.com. So check it out. Check us out. Share us. Next week, I will not be doing 2 bottles. You hear what that does to me. I can't do it. So thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. We get more viewers every week. And for the last 2 weeks, I've offered the viewers an opportunity to see me after 2 drinks. Not next week. Take care. We will see you soon. In 7 days.